today's project, this is April. Welcome to April. And April is all about flow. And so instead of flow with acrylics, like pouring acrylics, we're going to work a little bit on something different. And we're going to be working with watercolors and acrylic inks and some flow with acrylics. So I have practiced a little bit playing with watercolors, and that's what I'm going to get into today. I have, Corrine, how about you? Are you ready for this project?
Yeah, I didn't practice because I'm just back from vacation, but I have my watercolors and my watercolor pencils, some Neo 2s, and we'll just see where it
We're
goes.
going to see where it goes.
Right.
Okay, well, that's what I am up to. So I'm going to go down on make sure that I can get, you got there you go. Okay, so you
Okay,
can
I'm gonna do the
see
same thing.
my piece here. And so my supplies are basically just a lot of watercolor and water. So I have a spritzer, I have watercolor. I've got a piece of watercolor paper that is not gessoed, and it's in four little sections, so I can make cards out of it. Let's see if I can get more light. There's a little more light. And I have my watercolors here. I have watercolor pencils. I have watercolor crayons. I have all sorts of things. So to start off, I may just take one or two of my watercolor pencils and just do, and these are just like regular watercolor pencils, just colored pencils. And I'm just going to do a little bit of just scribbling. I want this to be fairly abstract. And I might take the same thing and put a little bit of, this one's a yellow and a blue. And one of the things that I am going to do is I am going to plan on keeping this fairly in the blue range. I don't really want to, I don't want to mix so much colors that I'll end up with mud. I had some, when I practiced, I had a lot of mud at times. So one of the things I discovered is that I could just practice with just regular colors. So what I'm going to start out doing is I'm just going to start out lightly spritzing my paper, just so that there are places that are wet and maybe places that aren't wet. And my pencils might start to move a little bit. You can see it will reactivate the pencils. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just try to get to put some watercolor on it. Now, one of the things um, that I experimented last week with is I've got some almost liquid watercolors, because what I did was I had a bunch of watercolors that were dead, and I made them into a liquid. So I am going to use a little bit of that just for fun, and see what happens if I just squirch a little bit of this stuff through, and then work on getting some some flow going by moving my paper, or getting more water. So I love the flow. I love what kind of just happens and the play with it. Just organically, whatever has happened. So I've got that nice blue. I love that blue. And I'm going to try to, now I'm going back into my palette and I'm getting some of another blue. And I'm going to see what happens if I place some of that in and just play. Again, watching, you can connect, see what happens when you connect the two. Watercolor will stay in like puddles, and you can just play with it and let it do its like becoming thing. So here I'm putting a little more, this is a cobalt blue, I think. Looks like pretty cobalty to me. And I'm putting more water on, and I'm letting it also become. So I might use a little bit of spritz and see if it moves more. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And it's about a lot of movement for me. So here I've got more movement happening. And at some point, I'm going to work on getting lights and darks. Whoa, that was a lot on there. Let's see what happens if I move that through everything. Oh, let's play, guys. Okay. So I am at this point maybe thinking of what happens if I might want to put just a little bit more water in places, leave some whites in places. I try not to have any really square shapes happening. So now I've got a lot of different colors kind of happening in here. And I can, like, if I have too hard of an edge, I can soften the edge by just putting a little bit more water because watercolors flow with water. And then I've got other tools that I could use. I can take, these are watercolor kind of crayons. This is the Lyra brand, but do you see how this will just, it becomes very intense. You can get some really interesting darks by running a watercolor crayon through it. So I may just work a little bit on a few. This one is a very dark one. This one's a orange one. Maybe I'll use an orange one over here. No, I don't like the orange one. What color blue is this? This is more of another dark blue. So I've run a little through there. Let me see what's happening here. I love sometimes how it just softly becomes something and running around. I also think I want to put some either orange or yellow in. And my go-to is always quinacridone gold. And I might have a little bit of quinacridone gold. So what are you doing, Karine? Oh, I like that crayon in the corner. I
Oh,
like that a
thanks. This
lot.
is a Neocolor. So I put some, I think it's a malic, what is it? I'm using my Kiritaki watercolors mostly,
Uh-huh.
and I'm using a malachite and an ultramarine pale, add a little bit of peach. I'm just trying to keep it light, kind of summery colors.
Yes.
And I'm not sure where I'm going yet. I'm just kind of getting color down.
That's exactly kind of where I am now. I'm
But
just
no,
getting
no
some color
design yet.
down. I'm moving it a little bit every once in a while. And
Yes,
I can
I'm
even move
busy.
it off if it like there's too much color. I mean, if there's too much water, I might
Yeah,
want to
I'm
move
just
it
kind of,
off
my
in
paper
place.
is buckled from a lot of water, but I'm
Right,
just kind of
my
moving it
paper
around
is
and
too.
letting it flow.
So I'm going to flow off a little bit. I'm also going to, and then I can also spritz some of my drier places, or like I just spritzed one of the dry places where I was using the, the watercolor, whatever these are. They're the cheap Neo colors, Aquarelle or something, but they're the
Okay,
same thing.
mine are the Caran d'Ache is what I have.
Ah, that's the good ones. So I love how they'll put some texture in it.
Yes.
And I need to get some yellow in here. So I'm going to use this. So here's a little bit. This yellow I ended up, whoa, I ended up, this whole thing started with this little bit of hands of yellow light that I had that was a dead. I couldn't get anything out. It was dead. So I just made a watercolor ink from it. And that was fun. I'm going to put some yellows through. I think I want, though, more of the quinacridone gold, which I think is what this is. I love quinacridone gold, with the greens it makes. I just love it. And I want to put some of that in. And the other thing is when it's really wet like this, I might put a little bit of brusho in. I have this is a lime green brusho, and brusho less is more. Ooh, that's probably way too much. And I thought I had a turquoise brusho. Here it is. But sometimes I love what brusho does. The other thing that I saw, I think years ago, I saw Susan Rice doing is that she uses a little piece of sandpaper and she uses it to make her watercolor pencils kind of drop like brusho. But I love how, and I couldn't find sandpaper, so we're not having that today. Right at the last minute, I realized I forgot the sandpaper. But as you can see, just a little bit of activation and this brusho goes everywhere. I love how that looks. And again, I can let this flow however it wants to flow and work on getting some flow going. The pencils really, or the watercolor crayons really do help you really get some good darks going. Because the other thing that you do need, watercolor tends to dry a little lighter. So it is a good idea to make sure that you get some good color contrasts going. And I'm going to use some of this orange because who doesn't love orange with blue and green? So, but I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't get too far into that it just kind of stays in its own little corner, I guess. Ooh. Looking like wildflower meadows to me. So again, I may end up pulling off, especially around the edges. If you pull off by the tape a little bit around the edges so it doesn't flow back,
Yeah.
it helps the flow back stuff happening. Fun, fun. So you can use these for starts, or you can use these for, I call them starts. They're just, let's just see what's going to happen next with a painting. Or you can use them for backgrounds for cards. You can use them for, sometimes they're just beautiful abstracts all by themselves. I'm really liking what's happening with this. This one right here. And I'd like to end up with a little bit more yellow in it. So this, by putting this stuff in the little tubes or I can put drops in, or I can just make drops by making, you know, by just using my watercolors to make very thick watercolors, and then I can sprinkle it, which is one of the things I also love to do with this, give it more texture. I love the texture that the brusho gives it. I may end up giving a little more brusho texture down in this. bottom area just a little. Because brusho gives great texture.
Mhm.
Okay, what's happening here? And it's flowing. Look at all of the flow. So at some point, we might want to think about drying it, but not yet. At least I don't think yet. Mine are actually, I'm pretty happy with almost all of them. I want to get some more orange or red or something in this one. I think if I just put some through, like there's flowers and then activate it. So I've used the orange crayon and then I've kind of activated it a little bit with the yellow that I had in my in my bottle. It is a good way to kind of use up. I get so frustrated when I grab my watercolors because they were in the tube and I'm about to put them back. You know, I want to fill them and something happened and it they decided they were going to get hard. And you can reconstitute them and it works. And you just stick them in a little, I'll have a video up actually. I think I'll put a video up on our channel, the one that
Mhm.
for those that are following us. I'm going to put a video up on how I did it so that you too can make your own watercolor inks, basically. Okay, a little more of this. I love this. Orange and blue are just my favorite go-tos, I think, especially with a little bit of turquoise. Oh, I love your circle.
Thank you. I'm just like, I need different shapes.
Yeah.
And some dark.
As I said before, we don't have to make this into necessarily anything. I just need some darks and some lights and some lines and some spatters and different uh, looking places.
Yeah.
I think I want a little bit of the turquoise in there. And let's put some of this. And watercolor does, it runs. That's what it does. And sometimes you have a little bit too much running happening, like I've got right here. But if you get to a point where you feel like it's happening too much, you can pull some of that out. What you do is you use a dry brush. So I call it a thirsty brush. And
Mhm.
so I don't like this, what's happening here. I want to just pull some of that water off and it'll pull the water off. So if I get too much in a certain area, I can just pull it off with a thirsty brush. I need a second exuberant place here. More exuberance. So at some point, I'll probably start thinking about drying this. What's our time? 20 minutes. And as you can see, I've been definitely thinking a bit of gardens. Um, so I kind of like that whole idea of garden. April flowers, I guess, is what it is. And you can steal color from one place and put it in another place. That's the other beauty of watercolors. Like I love that green there, but I might want to throw it someplace else. I think I want a little bit more light up here, right there. I want some dark down there. So I don't like the square, so let's see what happens if I soften it. Yellow. Mhm. And I'm just playing. I really want to see what happens. That's the only orange in that whole piece. I need some orange in here. Mhm. We're very quiet here, Corrine.
I know, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm just realizing that I didn't even notice if anybody's watching, but I'm just having fun. So I think I'm going to start spritzing some more color in. And I love that orangey color, but I don't think I have any here. I only have it, that's called permanent. I have a,
This peachy orange I'm using, but I don't know what color name it is.
uh,
I now think I'm getting all over me as I'm spritzing.
I think that what I'm going to do, since I don't seem to have this orange, I'm going to see if I can make some.
Oh, that's cool, yeah.
Yeah, see, because I want to really sprinkle it. So I'm going to put it over here on the side of my palette, and then I'm going to work with it and see if I can make some of it, because what I want to do is I want to just spritz it a little bit, just add a little bit more in here, and maybe even touch a little bit more in places. We'll see. I don't know if I like that there. I think I want some of that color. So I just love how this is such an organic process. It really is. We just let what's flowing flow. I'm gonna put a drippy row of, like, there's more happening there and there. Maybe let some of that flow into. Okay, I'm gonna stand up.
And try to see what you have.
Yeah, kind of see what I have.
Well, mine is not coming into a composition yet, but it will eventually.
Well, and that is the secret of all of it. It will eventually.
Yep.
Mine, I like a lot of this, but I've still got to figure out what I'm doing in the sky there. Um, I'm gonna add more here. Maybe I'll add more up here too, like it's going off the page, and see what happens there. I may dry mine in a second. I don't know.
I just dried mine a little bit because it was just way too wet to work with.
Yeah, mine is very, 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 very wet. So I'm gonna dry it just for, well, maybe I want to throw, no, I don't want to throw any more brusho in it, I don't think. Unless I want to put a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of turquoise right in down there. That's such a tiny bit. But then you have to spritz it to see what it does. There we go. And maybe tiny bit of turquoise right up there with a spritz. Spritz, spritz. Almost looks like bluebells over there, up there.
That's pretty.
Yeah, it is. I like that. I'm liking mine pretty much. I'm gonna end up splattering some white and stuff on it, but I think I'm going to dry it next.
Definitely landscape or something going here. Let's see how we can turn this into a painting. Bigger brush.
Well, I got a bit of out of control here where
Uh-huh.
I just had too much water with the brusher, but that's okay. It's just going to be what it's going to be. I like a lot of these little white holes. They look like there's some kind of flowers happening. Um, and whenever you dry watercolors, they tend to dry lighter. Um, I'm actually getting some intense blocks coming through the mail, but they didn't get here in time because I understand that that watercolor doesn't dry lighter. But I really like what's happened with a lot of this here with mine, except for how I'm going to deal with that. I'm
Is
not
it
quite
still
sure.
wet?
Huh?
Is that green spot still wet?
A little bit, yeah. You have a suggestion?
No, I'm just thinking, can you just soak a little bit of it up?
Yeah, I'm thinking that that might help. I was thinking that possibly I want to do it with see if I can do it with a stencil
Ah, that's a good idea.
to give me some texture. But I'm trying. Let's see what happens. Well, it just got lighter, but that's okay. It's it didn't work the way I wanted it to work, but that's okay. It's still wet in a lot of places there. But I think that a creative use of I mean, there's so many options here. I can go in with some gouache if I want and do some negative painting if I want.
Right.
I want these to be really abstract. I don't want them to say anything. And I've got some a reasonably good kind of composition in lights and darks and everything. I got a little problem up here, but I think I'm going to solve that with some white. So let me see about putting some white on it. How about you, Corinne? Oh, I love your seascape looking one over there.
Yeah, I'm kind of going for that. So we are at 11:30, so we should
Okay.
out finishing up on YouTube and finishing
Oh, oh,
painting and posting them to the website.
yes, we will definitely do that. And I will, um, do disconnect? This is what I
So
got.
if you've enjoyed today's session, join us on exploremixedmedia.com. You can see our past sessions there. There's blogs with lots of different techniques. And we also have an opportunity for kind of a Patreon membership where you can get a project every month, a private, just for members only Zoom session with a project, and an entire resource library. So again, that's exploremixedmedia.com. Check it out and see if it's something you'd like to join us in.
And
And
we'll,
see you next Friday morning, Terry.
yes, next Friday morning, and we will be doing some acrylic ink painting flows.
Oh, that sounds really fun.
Going to be really fun.
Okay,
Okay. See you
thank you.
all.